Clapping is real. The clapping is a soundtrack. Definitely. Oh, clap. Have a clap track.
Yes. Yeah.
Is the speaker on for this? Okay, wonderful. Everyone joining online. It's like nobody wanted to brave the parking here at KW. We're gonna wait a few more minutes for everybody else to join. We've got 12 people on the online call.
And thank you for putting this on, Carol. There's so much interest in this topic. It's really great. I've been talking to all kinds of agents and they're thinking about it. So it's very timely. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, David. You know, one of the reasons why I always love to present when I'm asked to by KW or another organization is because it allows me to, refine sort of my thoughts or models on the topic that I'm presenting on. So this has been, even just sitting down and putting the slides together for today has been really, really helpful.
Yeah.
So happy to share my knowledge with everyone on the call today. I'd love to do a quick recap before we wait for the last few people to join. Can we just go around the horn and sort of so I understand if you're looking to start a team, grow a team, or join a team, because that'd be helpful just so I know who I'm presenting to today. Thank you, Carlos. Who we got? We'll start with the two people who did decide to show up.
Okay, cool.
Sean and Leslie.
Sean and Leslie, yeah,
we're in the office. You're standing behind the camera, so they can't see you, but I can see you.
Purposely here behind the camera. No, so Leslie and her mom are starting a team, so we're just getting as much information to grow and build.
Super helpful. Thank you. Yeah. Who else? For my online people, I see Laura Inward, and Laura Inward could be teaching this class. So I don't know what you're here to listen to me talk about, Laura, but Laura's obviously a team mega agent herself. So Laura, you're here to presumably, pick up a nugget or two from me about growing a team.
You're a rock star, Carol. I will always listen to anything you have to say. And I think we can all learn and grow from each other. So I'm here to listen and learn.
Wonderful. I see Ruth as well from Barb's team. Ruth is here. Ruth, you're here to learn about growing a team because you guys are already, I would call you a mega team already.
We're doing our best, but you're an incredibly intelligent agent, and anything that we can learn from you is more than worth the time to listen in.
Thank you. It's like I paid you guys to say. Who else? I don't know some of the people on these calls. Christine Lambert, I recognize you from the brokerage, obviously. Are you thinking about joining a team or starting a team?
I was actually thinking about joining one, but I'm still considering. I'm always interested, and I love hearing you speak as well.
No pressure, guys. All right. I will tell you guys, I have 28 people on my team, and I gave them all an ultimatum that whoever didn't show up today was fired. So but like real estate agents, they'll all show up at 13 minutes after the hour with a good excuse about how traffic was terrible. Okay, anybody else want to share growing a team, joining a team?
So a little spin on it. I've had discussions with a number of agents who are looking at forming a loose team. So where it's not contractual and you share profit, but they're working together. Maybe one prefers doing listings, open houses, cold calling. They can find a way that they can leverage each other's skills and interests and have an informal working relationship.
Yeah. But that's going to be part of the presentation today, and that's why you learned. So, okay, let's get started with the presentation, and then of course there'll be an opportunity for questions and answers at the end. Carlos, you want to give me an idea of how to restart my PowerPoint here? That's wonderful. Well, Carlos is doing this, and I just have to shout out to Carlos as well because he does just an incredible job with all of our tech stuff here at the office. You're a close, close person. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Introduction. Okay, we'll share a little bit about myself with you. I am sitting in the presence of the great Sean here in my office. Sean and I started at the same time in real estate 21 years ago, believe it or not, at Royal LePage. Sean and I started at the same place. I began my real estate career, as many wonderful agents do, which is as a real receptionist at the front desk.
You
of
thought
a
that
real
broker
estate
loan,
company.
actually.
I taught Sean Costanzo how to broker loan many years ago.
That was-
And so many of the roles that we're gonna talk about today, I've had the benefit of doing myself, and of course, I joined KW 5 years ago, started my team here, or I'll say the first step towards starting a licensed team at KW here 5 years ago, and have had some pretty wonderful success here. We're currently now a team of 28, including 19 licensed sales representatives, the balance of which are administrative and support staff to that. My brokerage license is here at KW, but you don't see me in this office often because we have a mega team office out on Kingston Road. And it is, although we are work by referral team, primarily our businesses is East Toronto and Durham region. So let's get started. Am I swiping right? Is that what we're doing with 3 fingers, Carlos? This is what oh no, I can just touch it this way. Oh no, here we go. Okay, wonderful. So our learning outcomes for today, guys, I really want to talk about 6 primary things. I want to talk about the difference in licensed roles that can be hired for. We're going to spend a lot of time on this because I would say in my 21 years of real estate experience, this is where I see the biggest mismatches and the biggest failure rate, both for agents thinking about joining teams, as well as teams that are trying to hire agents. It's a mismatch of what the expectation is in terms of what the role will be and what the reality is, as well as differences in terms of thoughts on compensation models. So we're going to go through that. We're going to talk about when to start or grow a team. So when to hire your first licensed person, when to start adding licensed people after that. When to join a team, so when it may make most sense for you to join a team, and there's 2 primary reasons why somebody will look to join a team, and we'll talk about both of them. What should be included in a team contract, what an organizational chart looks like, and what a value proposition looks like. So those are the 6 things that I'm hoping to cover today. And of course, if you have other questions after that, we can go through it. So
Carol, can I interrupt you for 1 sec? Sorry. I'm not sure if your intention.
Oh, yes, I can. Look, here we go. Look at that.
There I am, Carol. I'm not sure if your intention is for the people that are online to be able to see those slides. As it appears right now, there's sort of a very small thumbprint behind where you're standing. I'm not sure if it's possible to have them come up on the
Carlos is
screen.
running as we speak, so he is going to fix this problem. So Carlos is going to sort this out right as we do this. So I'll talk about. Oh, you want to? Hold on, Carlos is.
Thanks, Carol. Sorry.
Is that the best option? There we go. Does that help? There, you can see that now. So you can't see me, Laura, but you can see my org chart. Is that correct?
Yep, that's perfect. I can still see a little version of you, but I see the org chart big. So thank you very much.
A little version of me is what I hope for every January 1st, Laura, and it yet eludes me another year. So. Okay, so I'll talk a little bit about my organizational chart. So I've mentioned to you guys already, I've done a lot of different roles in real estate, starting from the very front desk all the way up to where I would say I'm at now, which is a broker rainmaker. By the KW definition, I'm running somewhere between a 5th and 6th level business, which means I'm about to step away from production entirely. But I really want to reinforce here today, you're not here necessarily to follow the path that I have taken in real estate. You're here to figure out what's going to make most sense to you and to follow some of the pathways that the MREA lays out for us in terms of growing a team. So this is my organizational chart, and I'll walk you through it because it's going to kind of explain the slides that follow. So broker rainmaker, that's me at the very top. And if it sounds like an impressive title, it's not. It's just me making a lot of payroll payments every month and crossing my fingers and hoping that the market changes like a lot of people are doing right now. To the left side of this organizational chart, you see my paid staff. So the differentiation here between the different colors is dark blue, or that mid-color blue that you see on the left side under Director of Client Community, Director of Listing Services. These are paid, unlicensed roles. So you'll see that reflected here. These are people that are under salary positions, and then the light blue are people that are either on a salary or commission structure. The light blue people are all in various degrees of engagement in different roles with the team, and we'll talk through what those slides look like. And then the dark blue with me at the top is the person who pays all these people or also shares in the profit. So we're going to talk about how that works. So I want to walk you through this really quickly. As a team last year, we did 256 transactions And even with the shift market netted out just a fraction under $3 million in GCI. So $2,970,000 in GCI as a team last year. And this is important because figuring out scale will become key to you guys as you decide how to scale a team up. It's also going to be important consideration for the people that are thinking of joining a team, and I'll speak to that in a moment. So along the left side, again, quick walkthrough of this Director of Client Community. If you guys know her, Amanda Barton, who is an employee here at the brokerage, she runs my database and all outgoing client connections with the various client appreciation events that we do. Director of Listing Services is Allison McDonald, which many of you know as well. Allison runs all listings from beginning to end. Transaction coordination, Jane Adam, also previously from the brokerage, still involved in the brokerage in some capacity. She runs the back end of all of our deals in-house. Director of Closing Services is Anissa Hussein, who I worked with in my many years at Royal LePage. She handles all transactions from the time that the property sells. So when it gets handed off from Allison to Anissa, and she takes it to closing, at which point it directs back to the Director of Client Community, who takes care of our post-closing and ongoing client community support. And then we have an executive agent support coordinator, Diane Chen, who is a VA. She works from the Philippines. And previously, this was an in-house person here in Toronto, but we pivoted mid-year when that admin left to go back to school. Diane Chen works 12 to 8 p.m. Monday to Friday, and then Saturdays. Her role on the team is to support all of the team agents in typing offers, preparing documents, researching things, basically everything that keeps them doing dollar producing activities. To the middle of the screen, you've got team leader and agent. This role is held by Shauna Farr. You guys will remember Shauna because she held the role as, I believe, MCA here at the office for some time before going to Keller Williams Energy and then coming back to our brokerage. Shauna's role is to lead and guide the 17 agents that work for our team. She holds our weekly accountability calls. She runs our Wednesday trainings and just generally the touch point for all of the agents in the office. Her block is split because this is part salary, part commission. So in addition to being an agent in her own right, she gets a salary from me, plus she makes a percentage split of what the team agents bring to the table. So that's why you see there's a split there. The agents below are the heart and soul of our business. These are the agents that have chosen to work alongside me to grow their businesses under the umbrella of services that I provide as a real estate group. You'll see designation of buyer agents for a handful of these. We'll talk about that in a minute. We have in-house commercial now, Blair Smith, who joined us this year from Forest Hill Real Estate, and East and West End leasing coordinator. So our lease listings are handled depending on whether they're east or west of Yonge Street by one of these two people. And then the rest are team agents, and I'll explain what that means. We have an operations coordinator because we do do a full staging service as part of our offering to both my clients and the team agent clients. So we have a full in-house staging warehouse that has 3 staff. Arlissa Rohrer, who's our staging and design coordinator, she's on a commission or a fee-based structure. And then our in-house property manager and operations coordinator are salaried roles. If you guys have questions about this, I'll hold it to the end because it'll make more sense once I walk through everything else. And I'm going to go fast, guys. If you have questions in the chat, I might suggest, because I can't easily review this, I might suggest that you just chime in, unmute yourself, and or put up your hand, and I'll be able to see it. So the first thing I want to talk about are the 7 primary considerations to licensed roles. Now, people are often quite surprised to hear that there is a difference in terms of licensed roles. So if you are an agent who is thinking about joining a team, if you're somebody who's thinking about starting a team, the conversation may be, do you want to join my team? Do you want to join that team? Like, there's going to be different opportunities. And I really tried to hammer out the 5 primary different licensed roles so that we can have a clearer understanding, both as team leaders and team members, of the fact that there's going to be different expectations, different compensation models to all of these different roles. We're going to talk about 7 things with regards to each of these roles. First is going to be place of time of work. scope of work, compensation models, involvement with their own business, and I'll explain what that means, retention of the client relationship, mindset of the person being hired, and then obviously the legal and taxation implications of the hire. So let's go through them. So again, if I'm taking a step back, in 21 years of real estate, I have seen many agents start teams and then choose to contract and not go forward with that team model, often because they are not clear on what it is that the expectation of that team hire is going to be. I have seen even more people join teams and then be unhappy with the team structure because it was not clear to them ahead of time what it was that they were being hired to do or what the expectation was. So my goal here of kind of talking you through the 5 different licensed roles that you may either hire for or be hired for would is with the intention of hopefully clearing up some of this confusion. So as a team leader, you can decide what role you need, and as a team, I don't know, joiner, what am I trying, independent agent thinking about joining a team, you may consider what you're willing to do and what you're not, to be clear. So I'm going to move on to the first slide. So first of all, there's no hierarchy to the way that these are presented. I'm going to provide 5 different models, and the scope of the jobs do not get more or less important as we go on. They're just different. I hope that's clear to everybody. So before I get through these 5, I just want to highlight the fact that before you think of hiring licensed people, you should be first thinking about hiring an unlicensed administrative assistant. This is absolutely key, because if you're hiring a licensed person, you are likely trying to chase scale. You're trying to scale up, and you will not be able to scale up with more licensed help and create more transactions if you don't have the back end of your business already sorted out. So this is really, really important, guys. And it's not just me saying this. If all of you have read the MREA or the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, if you don't have a copy of it, this is what it looks like. I'm going to refer to this book a number of times throughout this presentation. It is not just me saying that, this is everybody. You need to be able to create repeatable systems before you try to scale your business. So if you're watching this and you are an independent agent and you're thinking about starting a team, the first thing I'm going to say to you is, do not start hiring licensed anything until you have a rock star administrator that has your business systematized and allows you to create repeatable results. Because when you add scale without adding the systems behind it, you are literally setting yourself to just crash and burn. It will not work. It won't work for you. It won't work for the person you're hiring. And it's certainly going to not work for your business, because what's going to end up happening is you're just going to become more mired in the paperwork and the back end stuff. So if you're on this call and you're thinking about starting a team and you do not have an unlicensed administrator on your team, that should be your first hire. Full stop. There should be no question about that. What we're talking about here is what to do after you have a licensed admin, because inviting somebody to work with you and build a business alongside you or under you without having the ability to scale that business is just a tremendous recipe for disaster. So if you don't have an admin, please stay on the call. I want you to understand what comes next, but that should be your primary focus. So first is first, licensed administrator. So Sean, who I'm going to keep referring to throughout, because we've walked our real estate journeys many a times together. Both Sean and I have been licensed admins. So a licensed admin, what are the 7 things that we're going to talk about licensed admin? So first of all, a licensed administrator is sometimes somebody who was an unlicensed administrator who decided that they wanted to get a real estate license and perhaps start their real estate journey here. To be clear, this isn't necessarily a stepping stone to something greater and bigger later on. Many licensed administrators or licensed assistants, which is going to be the next slide, start their real estate career here, flourish in this job, and are incredibly well compensated for these roles. I know many licensed admins and many licensed assistants that are making anywhere between $100,000 and $400,000 a year just being licensed admins. They are often the brains behind the operation on many of the teams that we see being very successful. This is somebody who is very system oriented, but they have their real estate license for the purpose of facilitating the real estate transactions on the back end. They are not necessarily outgoing salespeople. So a licensed administrator typically works in the office with the occasional need for tasks requiring transportation. So something like perhaps dropping off a check, putting up a sold rider, delivering feature sheets, and these are typically 9 to 5 roles. Now, I'll stop here and just for a moment and caution anybody who's thinking about hiring a licensed admin. A licensed admin typically works 9 to 5, guys. I want to highlight that because if you've ever worked on a team and you've been called at 10:30 at night, every night in a single week by the team lead that you're working with, you're not a licensed admin, you're something else. And we're going to talk about that. So this is typically a 9 to 5 role. And the reason that it's a 9 to 5 role is because licensed admins are usually salaried employees. And that's a really important consideration. Although the brokerage considers them independent contractors, their relationship with you is salaried in nature, and that makes them your employee. And like any job, whether you're in real estate or not, you do not call your employees after hours on Sundays, on the day of their kid's birthday, while they're on vacation, and ask them to type offers for you and do all of these things that we tend to ask our licensed admins to do, or some people do. This is the abuse of this respect of the 9 to 5 is the #1 reason I see it licensed admins or licensed assistants leave. They have contracted with you for specific hours, for a specific salary, not to be our slaves 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. This is really key, guys. So I spent a lot of time talking about this first point because I think respect for what everybody is signing up for on both sides is very, very important. This is a 9 to 5 role, guys, and it's a salary role. Okay, so a licensed administrator is going to manage most aspects of your business, including tasks that are required to a real estate license to be completed. So perhaps dealing with incoming sign calls, open house follow-up, and they're also going to do general admin. So maybe they're working in your database, maybe they're helping you with some bookkeeping, maybe they're doing other stuff that is more administrative in task that they may have also been doing as an unlicensed admin, but they're also doing things that require a real estate license to do. They are, again, we talked about this already, compensated by a salary that's usually higher than an unlicensed admin. And then when it comes to lead gen, typically licensed admins are not doing personally any outgoing lead gen. They will likely take inbound friends and family sales. So like their brother wants to sell the house, their next door neighbor wants to list. They'll take those, and those splits may be reflective of sort of like a one-off basis or a referral basis to you as the lead agent. But typically these personal sales occur outside of the hours of their licensed admin job. So just as we talk about the team lead having respect for their time off, it's also important for licensed administrators to understand that if they are going to be receiving a salary, it is a salary reflective of the time that they're going to spend in the office or working on the agent's business, not buying and selling your own real estate. Typically those are done outside of normal business hours. Very important, the client relationship stays with the team lead. So as an example, if we saw a sign call come in from the team leader's open house under a licensed administrator contract, that sign call isn't taken by the person who happens to answer the phone at the office. The sign call it may be dealt with by that person, but the ownership of that lead remains with the team lead, even though they were handled by the licensed administrator. These people typically have an employee mindset, so it's going to be, and mindset that factors in hugely to the decisions of like who to hire and also what team to join. And so you're going to see me talking about this in each of these slides. So employee mindset, they're there to work a 9 to 5 job. They don't care if the market is good, the market is bad. They're there to make a paycheck. As I mentioned, there are some salespeople that are licensed administrators that are incredibly well compensated for this role. They are on mega teams. They are running the whole show. They're like in the movie The Wizard of Oz, like the person who's pulling the strings behind like the Oz Great and Powerful. Licensed administrators or licensed assistants on many teams throughout the city fill that role. They also sometimes have a very, very limited scope. The average, if I had to ballpark what licensed administrators might expect to get paid, I'm going to suggest, and I'll defer to other people who have licensed admins on the call, somewhere usually in the range of $60,000 to $80,000 a year, and then some ability to have structure around if they're bringing in their own deals too. So licensed admins somewhere there. By contrast, guys, just to keep in mind, unlicensed admins, anywhere between, 65 to 70,000 is the going rate for an unlicensed admin, depending on their skill level at this time. Very important, guys. These licensed administrators likely meet the standards to be considered an employee under the Ontario Employment Standards Act. This is a huge issue for a lot of people. The brokerage relationship acknowledges a licensed administrator as an employee of the person that they work for at the brokerage. So if we were here and Matt was my licensed assistant, Matt does not have a relationship as an employee with the brokerage Keller Williams, but depending on the way that I structured Matt's job, Matt may have an employee relationship with me. And why is that important? Because employees are entitled to benefits in Ontario. So even though they are a licensed role and they are a salesperson, they are still an employee. You need, as soon as you pay them salary, you need to make deductions. There are requirements sometimes for WSIB premiums to be paid. Very, very important, guys. Also key to understand when we talk about the legal repercussions here, as an employee in Ontario, you are not allowed to contract out your rights. So even if I say to Matt, I'm like, hey, Matt, listen, I know that I'm going to be paying you a salary and that you're going to be working for me, 45 hours a week, but just so you know, you're not really my employee. And I'm going to get you to sign this thing that says you're actually like an independent sales agent or something. That's not lawful, nor does it hold up in court. As an employee, you cannot sign away your rights under the Ontario Employment Standards Act. So it's very important. If you were to hire a licensed administrator and have them work for you for a set period of time and then decide that, it's not working out because, they don't do a good job or the market is turned and you can't afford to pay them anymore, they may be entitled to compensation. And so it's very important that you understand, even though they are licensed and the brokerage recognizes them as an independent contractor, the province of Ontario likely does not under this model. Does anybody have any questions about licensed administrator? Speak now. We'll come back to this as well at the end. Before I move on. Oh, someone talking or is that outside? I can't talk. Oh, there we go. Nobody has a question. That's great. Okay. Let's talk about licensed assistant. So licensed assistant, you may say, what's the difference between the licensed admin and the licensed assistant? I always joke with people, the difference is twofold. Has a car and likes dogs, because chances are good you're going to ask them to walk yours. I jokingly say that because of course, Alessia's laughing. She's like, I like dogs and I have a car. I jokingly laugh about this because if I'm being honest, licensed assistant is one of the most abused positions in our industry. I don't know, licensed assistants cross it out and put personal slave. I've been one before. Sean's been one before. Alessia, sort of a little bit. Matt, borderline. This is like, sometimes you get asked to do a lot of stuff that doesn't have a lot to do with selling real estate necessarily. There are stories we could tell, guys. But this is important, guys, because again, although it may be a little bit more of an unconventional setup, it's super important that both agent and team leader understand that there has to be respect for the role and the boundaries, because otherwise this is a very slippery slope to burnout and potential for legal repercussions later on. So a licensed assistant will work in the office and remotely doing tasks that require both a car and a real estate license. So as an example for licensed assistant work, this is where you may have somebody, your licensed assistant, sit a buyer's visit for you. So you've completed a transaction, you need a licensed assistant to actually go drive there, sit a buyer's access visit, a home inspection, maybe pick up a check, babysit some documents being signed, something like that. In the old days when we signed documents by hand, licensed assistants will have a step up usually from a licensed admin role, and they usually spend some part of their day or some part of the week on the road. They're going to assist with a mix of administrative tasks and sales tasks. So again, they may occasionally stand in for you at a showing. If it's like a second showing, show my mom before we make the offer type of showing. They may occasionally stand in for you at an open house, like if you're double booked or something like that. Typically speaking, a licensed assistant will be compensated by salary and usually a bonus or an additional commission structure. So it would be quite, I see Dan Campanella not attending my seminar. Oh, you're listening. Okay. in the past. He loves to call me out every time I come to Tackle Tuesday, so there you go. So typically these roles are compensated by salary. So if we go back to that base salary, whatever it is, 70,000, 80,000, and sometimes a commission structure, often tied to the total GCI being produced by the team. Licensed assistants, you could have a licensed assistant or a licensed admin while having other team members, but you could have a specific role that is dedicated to just doing things that require a real estate license. A licensed assistant may do some outgoing lead gen. It's not going to be the focus of their business, again, because there's a salary. Their 9 to 5 priority should be your business. But typically, again, they're going to be inbounding maybe friends and family, clients, personal transaction, things like that. Again, client relationships remain with the team lead. So as an example, if they are, you know, standing in a showing for you for somebody's mother who wanted to see the house before an offer goes in, the relationship, if they were to strike up a conversation with grandma and grandma's like, oh, I'm thinking about selling my condo next year, that doesn't, that lead does not go to the licensed assistant. That would be relayed back to the team lead, because again, you're getting a salary to perform some functions under this. Again, so important to be mindful of client relationship remains with the team lead. Again, this is an employee mindset, whether the market is good, the market is bad. They're getting their paycheck every 2 weeks, and although they may be a little bit more aware of the fact that fluctuations could cause instability in their employment, typically speaking, they're not laying in bed at night worrying about how to make the mortgage payment if, you know, 123 Main Street doesn't sell. Again, like a licensed admin, these roles are likely to meet the standards to be considered for an employee under the Employment Standards Act. So important consideration. Now we get into the fun stuff, guys, where it starts to get a little wonky, because these are pretty straightforward, right? I think everybody has clarity now about what these roles look like and what you might be asking them to do and not do. But now we get into the fun one, a buyer's agent or listing specialist. Now, guys, I hear this all the time where people are like, I am Matt Trinier's buyer's agent. I am Sean Graham's buyer's agent. I work for. Buyer's agent is one of the most, I think, misused terms when it comes to agents in our marketplace. With buyer's agents, there should be a clear structure and an understanding of what that looks like. I also put listing specialist in here because in the MREA, they define listing specialist much as the way they define buyer specialist. But for this point, let's just take listing specialist off the table and talk about what it looks like as a buyer's agent. So a buyer's agent, and again, guys, huge amount of abuse sometimes on what this looks like. So that's why I think the clarity is really important. A buyer's agent is going to work an agreed upon preset flexible hour schedule based on your, as the team leader, and your client's needs with a clear expectation of whether or not there's going to be in-office work required and how much. I'll give you an example. I have a number of buyer's agents on my team that are also team agents, and I'll come to that definition shortly. But there is an expectation that they're going to be available most days during the day to be able to show one of my delegated buyer clients a home. I don't suggest to them that they need to be available at 1 o'clock in the morning to show grandma, you know, the house across the street just because she was curious about it. A buyer's agent typically is where you're dealing with a specific delegated buyer that has been handed to you, and you are going, as the buyer's agent, you are going to service that relationship from nose to tail in exchange for an agreed upon set commission structure for that client. So where I find this gets dicey between buyer's agents and licensed assistants, this is often where there's a big gray area in our marketplace. Licensed assistant is me asking Matt to like, hey, my buyers who I'm working with want to go see, you know, 333 Main Street again this weekend. Can you just pop it into a second showing with them? Matt takes them through, showing goes really well. Offer date comes on Monday. I'm successful bringing an offer together. And Matt's like, all right, this is great. Where's my 40% split of this deal? I thought I would have been on this. You're like, no, you were doing that because you're my licensed assistant, not my buyer's agent. So this is where it gets really, really gray. And this is why you need to have clear differentiation between the two roles. So A buyer's agent, to be clear, does not assist with administrative tasks. They are not a licensed assistant unless those administrative tasks are directly related to the delegated client that they've been handed. So as many of you guys know, being where I'm at currently in my real estate career, I have not shown houses in about 3 years. Every single one of my buyer clients, whether they are $300,000 condo buyers or $4 million house buyers, gets delegated to an agent on my team who will act in a buyer's agent capacity with them to conduct the entirety of the transaction in exchange for a split on that. So they are not helping me. I'm not having those buyer's agents like, work on my database or, organize files at the office or anything that's not directly related to the one-on-one relationship that they have with that client. We can talk about how you start delegating to buyer's agents later if we have time. But suffice it to say, they are not, you have to be very clear about whether or not you're hiring a licensed assistant in which they're receiving compensation, whether the deal comes together or not, or a buyer's agent where they are specific to a client, a deal, and they know ahead of time what they're being compensated if the transaction comes together. So on that next point, compensation is upon only successful completion of a transaction with agreed upon preset split model, which, to be clear, can be varied widely, but should be detailed and fair. So I'll be very transparent with you guys about what my split is when it is a buyer that comes from my sphere. So I work by referral. Somebody refers the buyer to me. Hey, Carol, this is my friend John. He's interested in buying a house. I do a buyer's call with him and say, Matt on my team, Matt and I do the buyer's call. I will tell them a little bit about my team, our approach to selling real estate, what we offer. We'll talk about our back-end administrative services. And then I will introduce Matt as the agent that is going to be their agent on the transaction from within the team. And then Matt will take it from there. Matt then works with those buyers from the time that they set up their TREB filters to start receiving listings, all the way through to negotiation of an offer, execution of the offer, sitting a home inspection, delivering the check, all of that good stuff. Matt works with them through that, and then the split on those transactions are 60-40. So as the person who created and nurtured the relationship to a point where I could get them to work with me, I'm entitled to 60% for that, and then Matt's efforts for being handed a ready-made, pre-baked buyer who has their mortgage qualification, is ready to go out and buy a house, and sometimes does it in as little as 2 or 3 days, is 40%. Now I'll just take a moment to pause here, because for the agents on this call who are thinking about joining teams, who think that that is an obnoxious split, and how dare I keep 60% of the commission, I want you to know that industry standard varies, but it would be rare to find a team where you are not receiving more than that. Would that be a fair agreement? Like 60-40 is a pretty standard model. You have to remember, guys, we are not talking about being handed a junk lead that you're going to have to nurture from stranger to to finished product. We are talking about literally the most valuable lead I can possibly hand off, which is a direct referral from somebody I've already known and worked with. I have already locked it down. I've already got them to commit to work with me. I've already pre-qualified for them as a buyer, and I'm literally just being like, Alessia, here you go. Here's John. He wants to buy a $900,000 house. He's been pre-qualified. This is his criteria. Literally go show him and sell him a house. And then Alessia goes out, and sometimes in as quickly as a week, Alessia's got a deal and she's made 40%. Alessia didn't have to figure out how to generate that lead. Alessia didn't have to nurture the relationship that caused that lead. Sometimes for years and years and years before you make that lead come to fruition. So if you're thinking about joining a team and you're shocked or appalled by the fact that you're only receiving 40% of the commission, remember that you are literally coming in to pinch hit at the very end of a transaction where you didn't see. It's like the iceberg that sank the Titanic. You're seeing this much of the transaction, the profitable part. You didn't see that huge amount that went into nurturing the lead to that point. So 60-40 is standard on buyer delegations where the sale price is over $1.6 million. My split goes a little bit further. I retain 70% of that. We're still talking about tens of thousands of dollars for sometimes a week's worth of work for one of my buyer's agents. I've never had anybody say, no thanks, I'm not going to work with that $2 million buyer this week because I've got better things to do, instead of like, dealing with this pre-qualified buyer. So usually people are quite happy to take on those buyer's leads. So to be clear though, if that buyer's agent put in a tremendous amount of time and energy and effort, as sometimes we do, without any compensation, they're also not entitled to anything. So, and nor am I as the person who nurtured them, you know, and not, as everybody knows who's been a veteran in this industry, not every single lead comes to a closed transaction. In fact, most of them don't. So you need to be mindful of that. Conducts outgoing lead gen to build their own sphere or create their own transactions. This is where it starts to get different. This is where we get into the salesperson mindset. A buyer's agent will not only be potentially working with some of your buyer clients, but they're also trying to hustle up some of their own business on the side under whatever model it is that you as a team are following, or whatever lead generation. We'll talk about that in the next slide. So again, a buyer's agent may also be bringing something back to the table as well on a team split. And in most cases, the split inverts at that point. So for, you know, Matt brings a buyer to the table. Matt's like giving me the evil eyes, like stop looking and comparing to me, Carol. It's only because you're literally in my line of fire. Matt goes out and, you know, does some door knocking or calls through his database and able to generate a buyer lead himself. He goes out and sells that buyer's lead to somebody, and I, you know, perhaps assisted with a little bit of coaching or back-end administrative support, which we'll talk about soon. Matt's entitled to keep 60% of that commission for himself. And we're going to talk about what that looks like in a minute as well. So again, this is where it splits. This is where we get into the mindset of perhaps a little bit of employee. Matt's me like, oh, Carol asked me to do something, I've got to do that. But also they start to get into a salesperson mindset on their own, where they are now a salesperson in their own right. They're looking at how they're going to generate business on their own, so that eventually they don't need the leads from you. They're going to be doing their own things. Client relationship, again, in these cases stays with the team. And this is important. In these circumstances, they may still meet the standards to be considered an employee. It depends on how you're directing them, whether or not they're in office, whether they end up doing some licensed administrative work for you as well. So it's very important. This is where we start to see the divergence between salesperson and employee, not only from a mindset point of view, but also from a legal or taxation point of view. Listing specialist we won't talk about today. That would be when you're entering your 5th or 6th level business, and when you're literally now not even as a team leader going off on listing appointments anymore. You now have somebody who does all of your listing appointments and doing your listings for you as well. You go on to the next slide now. Lead gen agent. All right, guys, this is one of my favorite things to talk about, because there is no single, when I talked about licensed admins being lead gen agents, you often don't know what you're getting into until you've already got yourself into it. So lead gen agents, what does that look like? Lead gen agents work in agreed upon preset hours in a preset location. So a lead gen agent gets hired and you are like, Alessia, I will see you at 9:30 on Tuesday morning outside the Tim Hortons at Leslie and Lakeshore, and we are going to start knocking doors in Leslieville. And that is a lead gen agent. You are there to generate leads for the team. Matt, I'll see you at 8:30 a.m. I'm going to give you a phone book and a headset, and you're going to start calling people. That is, and I'm using cold calling and door knocking as two option ones, because those are ones that are most often associated with lead gen agents. Your job for the team that you are being hired for, and I say hired because you're not getting paid until you actually achieve something for the team. You are being brought onto the team to generate leads for the team. Your involvement might look something like this. Your team lead says, we're going to knock 200 doors today, and you're not going to stop until you get to 200 doors, or you have 15 conversations. So 15 people open the door, you have a conversation about real estate. Sometimes it looks like you're not going to stop until you have 5 contact information from people at the doors. You're not going to stop calling until you've had a listing appointment set up, as an example. Again, cold calling and door knocking, there is nothing wrong with that. God bless the cold calls and door knockers of the world. They have, they're the backbone on which our industry is built. There are other ways to generate business, and we can talk about that, but these are the 2 primary ones, and I would say the third is internet leads, and we'll talk about that as well. Those are the two pillars of the business of which lead gen agents, they require these lead gen agents to thrive. So there are no administrative tasks for a lead gen agent. Your job literally is you're dialing for dollars, you're picking up the phone and you're calling until you get a listing appointment. The team lead may or may not go on that listing appointment with you. And then the team lead, if that actually turns into a listing or a buyer client and an actual closed transaction, there will be a split between the team leads. So you were there to generate the lead, to sort through all of the people, you know, in that neighborhood, whether it's door to door or through the phone book or, you know, through online leads. You were there to sort through to figure out who's doing something with real estate, hand that lead off to the lead agent, and then the team agent will then take it over, close that transaction. And in the meantime, you may or may not be receiving training or information about how to actually close a transaction. A good team lead will help you walk right through the transaction so that you've got the knowledge to know how to you know, close a transaction yourself. Some will just use you to get in the door, get the phone number, get the contact information, literally give me their name and number, I'll take it from here, go back to the phones, you're on to the next one. This is not, I say it with negative connotation, but I don't intend to. Lead gen agents are valuable parts of our business model as a whole, as a real estate industry, because they help motivate people towards doing real estate transactions or find people that may not have otherwise, you know, reached out to you. So it's basically like, think of like a miner panning for gold. These are our panners. They are just literally, what's the name for a miner that's panning for gold? Does anybody know? I don't know if they have a name. It's the guy with the panning thing. They're literally looking for
That's the guy with the
gold. Yeah, the panning guy. Okay, thanks. Literally, that's what they are. But I think what the challenge is that lead gen agent, and some people are going to take to this like a fish to water and love it and kill it and do really, really well here. Other people are going to do it for a month and be like, I cannot get hung up on 199 times in a row. It's crushing my soul. This is not for me. And many times what ends up happening is agents will join a lead gen team without a clear understanding of what the expectation is of them. They've watched the entire season of Selling Sunset. They watched Millionaire Real Estate Agent and they were like, nowhere did I see anybody making cold calls in those shows. Lead gen agents, it's a really specific skill set to have longevity in this. And God bless the people in our business. There are legends in our business that are killers at this. Barb Beth, Leo Augusto, Sean Pro, Jay, these are people who have made incredible businesses starting businesses this way. But you, as an agent joining a team, you need to know what that looks like and what the expectation is going to be. Again, just like a buyer's agent, you are only compensated when there's a successful transaction. And there is a preset split already set out for what that looks like. They're generally not necessarily doing their own sphere building. They are literally just hired to sit and chair and lead gen for the team. Again, client relationship stays with the team lead. So whoever you are doing the calling for or doing the door knocking for, typically that relationship remains with them. They have a salesperson mindset. So they're not an employee. They understand that they are there to just churn and burn. It's a numbers game. You got to hit a lot of doors. You got to dial a lot of phone calls. Sometimes I've never done cold calling, but I understand they actually wear headsets and then they will literally just press a button, it'll auto dial for you. Literally, you're going as fast. You can't even dial the numbers that fast. You've got to move really, really quick. This is a numbers game. You're not likely to meet the standards to be considered an employee under the Ontario Employment Standards Act. So that's lead gen agent. Now, lead gen agent is one, as I said, it can be tough. It can also be very lucrative. This is a good way to start a real estate career if you just need to learn the nitty gritty hard truths about what our industry is all about. You will get a lot of training. You will figure out scripting, what works and what doesn't work really, really quick. I love hiring agents that were lead gen agents and just decided it wasn't for them, but have done it for a year and have come away with literally a knowledge of how to talk to anybody about anything. And they have a mindset where it's like, the next door could be the yes. I know that I'm going to have to get through 76 no's before I hit the yes. So lead gen agents will come out of a year in this role one of two ways. Like well-trained, lean, mean salesperson, absolutely killers, or burned out, fed up, disgusted with the idea of a team, horrified by selling real estate and ready to pack it in and go back to their non-real estate job. That's what happens with lead gen agents. I would say that that's probably a fairly true, accurate representation. There may be people on this call that tried out Teams and they were like, oh, I know what Teams are about. They just want me to sit there and call. The misunderstanding around lead gen agents and what your job is there for is tremendous. So lead gen agent, let's talk about the next one and the final, the fifth model. Team agent. Now I'm perhaps a little biased because the majority of agents on my team fall under this model. Very different, guys. The mindset is not salesperson. The mindset is not employee. The mindset of team agents are business owners. So I, as the broker of the Carol Foderick Real Estate Group, provide an umbrella of services that services not only my clients and my business, but also provides service to the agents on my team and their clients under my umbrella. I wanted to play a Rihanna song at the start of this, but nobody at KW thought that was a good idea because the music video is very inappropriate. But think about that, guys. You can stand under my umbrella. I'm like Rihanna, holding an umbrella. So my umbrella, what's in my umbrella as a leader of a team that hires team agents? I'm providing all of the administrative and marketing supports that allows agents to successfully grow their own business under the umbrella of services that I provide. Those services that I provide, and we'll talk about this in a minute under knowing your value proposition, include everything that an agent needs to be 100% hands-off with anything that is not dollar producing activities. So the only two things that the team agents on my team do are, one, Matt, answer this question. Two things you do, you're responsible, you unless you're responsible for doing two things, what are they?
Lead generation.
Lead generation. And for us, we're working by referral team. So that means talking to your database, talking to your database, talking to your database, talking to your database. That's all we do, guys. Talk to our database and
Deals.
So Matt is talking to his database and that's his first job, talk to your database. And your second job is go out, show houses and negotiate contracts. He doesn't even type the offers himself. Matt doesn't do his social media. He doesn't fill out trade record sheets. I don't know, what else do you not do? Everything, nothing, literally. Literally, you go out, you generate leads, you sell homes, you lease listings, you hand them off to the closing coordinator and you move on to the next one. And we have such an incredible systematization of our business that allows agents and why it attracts so many top level agents and not just new agents, but mid-level producing agents is because it allows them to do the things that they want to do, which is dollar producing activities, things that actually make them money. So a team agent works flexible hours. So I don't care if Matt does his lead generation at 2 o'clock in the morning. I don't know who's answering their phone, but Caitlin Hartley on my team does do lead generation at 2 in the morning and she talks to people and emails them at that time. Works for her, works for them. Works flexible hours, but there is an expectation of the amount of work required. For us on our team, we set really clear expectations for what your lead generation goals are going to look like. And so we are results focused, not number of hours spent focused. So if you can come in and do your lead gen goals for what you've set your goal to be for that week, and you can do it in 7 hours and then go home and binge watch Yellowstone for the rest of the week, cheers. Like, I'm happy for you as long as you are hitting your numbers and you have good conversion ratios. The amount of time, whether it's big or small, is entirely dependent on yourself. This is the key. The lead gen agent will not do anything that is not a dollar producing activity. So we talked about it already. The administrative tasks are going to be handled by administrative assistants to keep the focus on dollars producing. To be clear, Allison McDonald and Denisa Hussein, Amanda Barton are the most skilled administrative staff in the entire country. That is a huge statement, guys. I will put them head to head between any team anywhere. They handle as many as 400 transactions a year in the height of the market. And before it was Amanda Barton, it was Daniel. I meant to give her fair credit, but those 3 administrative roles can churn through 400 transactions in a year with an average of 68 touch points per deal per administrator. So we are providing a level of client experience that far exceeds what the average individual agent or even other teams are providing to the marketplace. And we're only able to do that because A, they are incredibly skilled and just do the same thing over and over and over again. So they have it down to an absolute perfect science. And they are trained specifically to do those jobs, whereas a salesperson is not. As a salesperson, you are trained to lead generate and you are trained to go out and sell houses. Dealing with the key exchange between the lawyer and making sure that the check got to the client's thing and the courier was late and where's my, all of that is handled by an administrative assistant, because once the deal is inked, you have made that money and you need to move on to something else. Otherwise, you end up with a roller coaster of commissions that most agents realize in any market, even in good ones. They spend so much time working in their business that they stop working on their business. The business absolutely train wrecks, and then they have to go back after those 2 or 3 deals that they were working on have closed and start all over again, start lead generating, start working, working their databases or their sphere again, and then they get sales again. And it's just the real estate agent cycle of income goes like this, and it's devastating for most people. So again, administrative activities only handled by admin agents. Again, like everybody else, they're only compensated on successful completion of the transaction. They are building their own businesses. So this is very important. I don't own Matt's database. He doesn't own mine. I don't own Alessia's database. She doesn't own mine. Everybody has ownership of their own database, maintains ownership of their own database, and is responsible for the outcomes from the inputs that they have put into their own database. So the agent retains their own clients. If Matt were to sell a house to, his friend who's referred to him from another friend, and then 5 years from now, he chooses to leave the team, that client goes with him because it's for his contact, his database. These are business owners' mindset. These people who are choosing to join teams, perhaps because they feel like they need a little bit of learning, or skills training, but the vast majority are not there to learn how to be real estate agents or learn how to execute deals. They are there for the most important thing that any team can offer. And does anybody want to guess what that is? It's not loser. It is
Leverage.
leverage. It's leverage, guys. The most important thing. If you read MREA, if you read any real estate book, the most valuable asset that you can have as a team lead or as a team agent is leverage. The ability to work on what makes you money, and then every part of that aspect of that transaction that doesn't make you money gets handed off to somebody else so you can go out and slay the next dragon. Team agents are there for leverage. They are there to share their commission with me in exchange for the services that I provide them. And so if you are a team leader on this call and you were thinking about starting a team that encourages team agents to come aboard, you better know your value proposition backwards and forwards, because if somebody who comes to you and they're already selling 20 to 40 houses a year, they want to understand why it would make sense for them to join a team. You need to be able to explain it to them. Because there's this big misconception, I think, that many team agents that join do it only as new agents and only until they get their feet under them and then they're going to go be individual agents. I have team agents on my team that are making $500,000 or $600,000 a year consistently, and they will never leave, because the model that I have created means that the more they make, the less they pay and the more they get. So if you are strategic in the way you structure your team agent contracts, you will be able to attract and retain top talent, not just brand new agents, but you have to be able to put that value proposition together. I'll take a small break here and ask if anybody has questions, because those are the 5 models. And then we're going to go into the do not join a team and do not start a team until. Does anybody have questions at this time? Just unmute yourself and ask. I feel like I've just vomited up a whole bunch of information on you guys. No questions. Oh my goodness. Did I really do that great a job of explaining the entire real estate industry in a nutshell in 45 minutes?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. No questions. All right. Everybody is.
Sorry,
nice.
I have a question.
Poison at home. Yes. Who am I speaking to?
Stephanie.
Stephanie. Hello, Stephanie. How old is your baby?
He's 4 months.
Oh, that's so cute. Stephanie, I started my team when I had a 6-month-old at home. So I'm figured to start a team, but man, nothing gets you motivated like motherhood or puts a fear on it. Okay, what's your question, Stephanie?
Okay, you said how before you hire a licensed administrator, you should get an unlicensed one. So what does an unlicensed one, what can they do?
An unlicensed administrator will do everything that a licensed administrator does that doesn't require a real estate license. So there will be many people on this call who either have licensed admins or have been unlicensed admins. Does anybody want to do a little potpourri? Sean, you want to answer that? Because you've been an unlicensed admin for a long. It's been a while. What did we do back in the olden days, Sean?
Oh, we
being
were
unlicensed?
all of these. We did everything though, like except the actual calling of the stuff. We just couldn't talk about sales or anything.
Exactly. So, an unlicensed admin may be doing your trade record sheets. They are, doing your mailers for you. They are processing your database. If you will know, Stephanie, when it comes time for you to hire an unlicensed admin, most people will need an unlicensed admin by the time they hit 15 deals. If you have hit 15 deals and you haven't hired an unlicensed admin, you are the admin, you just don't realize it. You have lost yourself and you are now doing all of your non-dollar producing activities yourself, which is incredibly damaging. So an unlicensed admin will do basically everything on the back end. Maybe they're doing your social media, they're booking your showings, they are managing your database, they are speaking to your clients, they are handling the back end of the transaction, they're sometimes typing or preparing offers for you. Back end unlicensed administrative support will be the first biggest jump of productivity in your business as a salesperson. And I will caution you, because there is, in terms of unlicensed, there is this huge array, and this won't be a discussion about unlicensed admins, because we can go down that whole rabbit hole. There is everything from $6 an hour VAs who are working for somewhere else in the world who are like, do this, we'll do this, all the way up to unlicensed admins who again run the back end of mega team businesses who will do everything. It's like if you guys have ever seen the movie Weekend at Bernie's, where Bernie is actually dead. That's the right. You have to be alive in the 80s to know this movie. He's dead, but they turn him around like for an entire weekend because they want to hang out in his like summer house. We have some unlicensed or licensed admins that are basically like Weekend at Bernie's. Like it is dead up from the head up. What is that? Dead up from the neck up? Anyways, but a very skilled unlicensed admin, the top end of that role, there are unlicensed admins making north of $100,000 a year. They're just that good. And they've been with the same agent for years and years, and they know their clients and they know their database, and they are the master with the puppet strings. So, but you can also get somebody that you're paying $15 an hour for who doesn't know, what an offer is and doesn't know what a waiver is and how do I book an appointment and what's real estate and like this. So the scope of unlicensed admins are huge. Does that help you answer your question? Stephanie, it sounds like you haven't read the MREA or the Red Book yet. Have you read this book yet?
I bought it, I've not read it yet.
So we should do a poll. How many people said that they've read the Red Book, actually only read like this much of the Red Book, and they were like, yeah, I got it. This is good. Guys, there is gold in the second 2/3 of this book. You just actually have to read it. It is, listen guys, it's dry, it's numbers, it's a lot of stuff that early on in your career may not apply to you. But reading the MREA, if you're struggling with reading it in paper, they have an audible version of it that is narrated. Put it on in your car and listen to it, and then stop it and listen to it again, guys, because it is the pathway to how to create a 7th level business. And I didn't read it until I was well along the pathway, and a lot of stuff that I just failed my way forward on. It was actually there in black and white sitting on my bookshelf, and I just hadn't bothered to read it yet. So if you have questions about hiring an unlicensed admin, that's a great place to start. Any other questions about this before I move on about when to start a team? No? Awesome. Sean, you look perplexed. No? Cool. All right, so let's talk about it. Oh, teenagers, I got this already. Do not join a team. We're going to talk about this for the people on this team that are thinking of joining a team. Do not join a team until you understand which of these 5 roles you're going to be hired for. Now, to be clear, there's not a lot of clarity necessarily in our business. So if you're like, am I going to be hired as a licensed assistant or a licensed admin? The person that you're talking to on the other end of your call may not know the difference themselves. So I think it's just really clear to be really important to be clear on what it is you are willing to do as a team agent or as a person looking to join a team, and what you're not willing to do. Because if you are not willing to door knock in January, do not join a team whose core of their business is door knocking in January. That is a recipe for disaster for both of you. Understand the difference between cost versus value. I have interviewed dozens and dozens and dozens of team agents, or people looking to become teen agents. And if the first question that they ask me is, what's the split? I can tell right now it's probably not a good fit for me, because they are not asking about value, they're asking about cost, and there is a difference. So if you're like, I would never give 40% of my business to somebody else, the reality is, because that's a high amount to give to somebody, the reality is that your cost of doing business is likely in excess of that. You cannot hire the staff that I have on my team. You cannot provide all of the things that I provide to all of my team agents. You cannot provide the level of service to your customers for 40 cents on the dollar. That is just the reality of what it is. I can only afford to do it because I have 18 agents pooling their resources together to be able to afford that. So before you get all, up in arms about what the split is going to be, understand the value of what that split brings to your business, because in most cases as a team agent, believe it or not, you can come out on top. If you have a team that is really leaning into your business and you make more and they encourage you and support you in making more. So even though you're giving up something, it's often putting you in a position to be able to leverage your business. Know the value of what a lead is. So I get asked the second biggest question is like, so are you giving me leads? We didn't talk on the team, on the lead gen about internet leads, but maybe I'll take a step back and just talk about that. Lead aggregators are something that became a thing in our industry in the last handful of years, where I, as a team agent, or you as an independent agent, can go online and buy leads from various websites. So what does a lead look like? If anybody has ever Google searched a house like 123 Main Street is for sale, and you type it into your phone, and they require that you put in your name and address or phone number or email address to be able to access information on that listing, it is because that website is taking that information and they are selling it to somebody who is going to pay for access to your information. So Matt wants to buy some internet leads. He goes to one of those websites, he buys all of that information. Sometimes it's expensive depending on how much information they collected. Sometimes it's as much as $40 a lead. Sometimes it's as much as 20 cents a lead. And you get, as the purchaser of those leads, you get a bunch of leads, which usually include phone numbers or email addresses. As a team lead, there are some lead gen teams that, as their business model, will just buy in bulk those online leads and then feed them to somebody who's sitting at a desk, whose job is to sort through those online leads and figure out who's real and who's not. I think the conversion is less than 2% of them being quote unquote real people, or people who will actually talk to you, or who have legitimate curiosity about their real estate market. So if you are being promised leads as part of your, join my team because I will give you leads, ask what those leads look like. Am I being handed internet leads and I am literally just going to sort through them? Is the leads people that somebody has cold called previously? Like what is that lead and what value does that lead actually have? Because some people will value leads over leverage, and that's a personal decision for everybody to make. And it depends on the kind of business that you want to run as a team agent, but highly question what the value of the leads is that you're getting. Because if it's just like, here's a dumpster full of internet leads and half of them are people that are trying to get you to give them your bank account number so that they can send you $10 million, there's not really any value to you. The benefit of leverage and the benefit of learning. Understand that every different team will have a different team structure, will have different splits, will offer different models, and you need to research various different teams until you find one that works for you. There are no two teams that are created identical. And there are no two business models in real estate that are the same. So you need to research several teams to figure out where you want to be. You should also be assessing the brokerage that you're joining to understand their structure. I get a lot of people that call and they're like, oh my God, Carol, you're amazing. I want to join your team. Like, it's so exciting. And they come to my team office and they join our team meetings and they're really excited about that. But they don't understand that they are also joining our brokerage as well. And especially it's, I think, a little bit convoluted for our team because we don't even exist in this building. We exist on Kingston Road, which is east of here. So many of the team agents on my team, although they are Keller Williams Advantage agents, have never actually stepped foot in this building. But it was important for them to sit down with Sean Graham, understand that there is a structure and a split that goes along with KW, what we're about as a company, understanding the values and the culture of the brokerage that you are joining as well, not just the team. It's important. You're joining a team, you're also joining a brokerage as well, and you need to make sure that they are both a good fit for you. Understand that time is your most valuable asset. Do not work for free. So for my people on this call who are thinking about joining a team, guys, you need to understand there are people who either unintentionally or intentionally may take advantage of the fact that you're willing and eager and interested in learning about real estate to get you to do stuff that you're not being compensated for. Your role on the team, unless you are a paid licensed assistant or the licensed admin, should be focused on producing activities. If you're doing stuff like walking the lead agent's dog, we can all laugh about it, but that is legitimately something that gets asked a lot of agents working on a team. You don't work for free, and it's very important you understand that. And then the biggest one that I want to share with you, if you're a new agent looking to join a team, understand the value of your database. It is the only asset you own. If I can leave everybody here with one takeaway, both for team agents and team leaders, the value of a database is specific to the agent that created it. As team leaders, there is no value to you. I see most team contracts require people to like turn over their database when they start working, and that's the only people that you can take with you when you go. You are not going to get top talent to stay with you for 5 or 7 or 10 years if you require them to forego the right to the ownership of that database at the end of it, because it makes no sense. As real estate agents, the only asset we have is our database, because that's where our businesses come from. It's our repeat clients and our referred clients. And if you ask somebody to fork it over to you, you may get people who are ignorant towards what the value of that database is, but top talent knows the value of a database. They just won't work with you. It's as simple as that. And so when I tell new agents, make sure you have your database, it goes right over their head. Even if you don't fully understand it now, guys, the takeaway that you should be leaving this call with is do not forego ownership of your database under any circumstance. If you have questions about that, you can ask me. Do not join a team until that. Do I have more? Oh yes, I rambled. I opened an entire bottle of wine and rambled for several times here, guys. Understand the lead gen structure of your team that you're joining and be prepared to work in this model. All teams will have a structure for how they generate leads, whether it's door knocking, whether it's working by referral, whether it's cold calling, whether it's through social media, through its TikTok, wherever the leads for that team comes from, understand that there's going to be a structure to that, and you're going to have to be comfortable working in that environment. Understand the split with not only the team, but also with the brokerage as well. There's a team split, there's often a brokerage split as well. You need to understand that there are two. And then you also, we talked about this, understand what constitutes as a lead and know that what the value is of that to you. So I have a team agent on my team from a team that was very involved in internet and online marketing. And she's like, well, I was getting 200 leads a week. And now if I came to your team, I would not be getting any. And I said, no, to be clear, your team lead was buying a dumpster full of 200 internet leads a week for probably 40 or 50 bucks, letting you mine through the garbage until you found a real person who you would then spend months and months and sometimes years trying to transact business with. That's not a lead, guys. That's just cold calling or door knocking, digital version. That's what it is. So just be clear on what the value of the lead is. If you are trying to attract people to your team by offering them leads, make sure that they understand what the value of that lead is, and that you understand what the value of that lead is. Benefits of joining an established team. Now, this is a value proposition, guys. So when I'm sitting with team agents, this is what, and I'm looking to hire a team agent, this is what I offer to my team. This isn't what, and this is me pulling back the curtain and having total transparency. I hope for the other team leaders on this call that you follow something like this to be able to entice top talent. I literally have to turn away 90% of the people that cross my doorstep because I only have the limited capacity of about 20 agents on the team at this time. And everybody else, I just don't have the time and space. So I take the very best, the cream of the crop, and everybody else gets passed to somebody else. But the reason why I get the cream of the crop and I consistently turn out the rookie of the year every single year is because I give them a reason to stay and to learn and to grow and to stay even when their businesses explode. So first and foremost, this is specific to KW, but when you join a KW team, your cap as an independent agent, which is I think 22,000, falls to 11. So right out of the gate, you have cap, which is a big deal. If you're joining a team, that's $11,000 in savings right out of the gate. You are 100% hands off all actions that are not dollar producing activities. This is the single most valuable thing that you can offer to an agent that is going to join a team. Again, giving them the ability to only work on their business, in their business. Stop getting them to do paperwork, stop getting them to do your paperwork. It has to be lucrative for them. All expenses and supplies are paid for my team, including stamps, and stamps become a big thing because we also do 4 times a year Design Line magazine mailers to our databases. We send out 6,000 magazines 4 times a year to our collective databases. We also organize and execute client appreciation events for all of the agents' databases on our team. So if you guys follow me on social media, you saw that we had 800 people at a baseball game. Sean was there. Sean Graham was there. At the baseball game. We also did a client appreciation event in the fall that had 2,200 people at it. We organize and execute those events, and the agents get to bring 50 attendees to each of them at no cost to themselves. That cost me about $15 per invite. We also do our Christmas Popeye Blitz. This year we did branded candles, so I made a bunch of Alessia Scabuzzo candles, and she took them to her database.
I think meant for everyone.
No, not for everyone, like for you, Matt got candles, the man got candles, everyone got candles, and then and those were a cost of $15 each. We get the quarterly Design Line magazines that get sent out to your entire database. We also do a spring mailer. This year is my famous marshmallow chickens. Sadly, we are avoiding marshmallow chickens this year, but well, you didn't want to drive around to Dollarama's and buy them anymore, Alessia, so. So spring in-house staging, this is a huge one, guys. So you want to attract top talent to your team, we've got an in-house staging crew that will allow you to join a team and benefit from the fact that I own my inventory and I own my warehouse, and I can stage any size house for any of my agents for $3,000, regardless of whether it's a 4-bedroom, 4,000 square foot house, and they need the staging furniture for 5 months. You could, that's a $30,000 stage that I just described right there. It's $3,000 flat rate for every agent on my team. Preferred rates for photography through our in-house photography. We have one of our admins does all of your posts on Facebook and Instagram, and it's all managed for you. We have a yearly marketing calendar that we create, and the admins will do 62 points of touch with your database in addition to what you're doing. We've got a director of listings that handles the entire listing for you. We've got a closing coordinator that handles everything for you. We have an agent services coordinator that literally, if it's 6 o'clock and you're driving from Etobicoke to Leslieville and you need an offer typed, you call her, and by the time you park your car, the offer will be typed, prepared, put into DocuSign. All you need to do is review it and have your client sign it, and you are ready to rock and roll. So it's totally hands off on the back end. We do a weekly accountability with our team lead to figure out where the kinks in your business are coming when your conversion ratios are out. And then we do weekly in-house education sessions to teach and train. So that's why people join the Carol Foderick Real Estate Group. That's why I literally need to beat them away with a stick at sometimes. And that's why they stay when they become agents that are producing literally hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. Same except for this year where we've gone through a pretty dramatic market shift. I've never had a year where a new agent on the team didn't make at least $100,000. So that's what we do, and that's the value of joining a team like mine. So that's my value proposition. So if you're thinking of starting a team, you need to sit down with pen and paper and figure out what that looks like for you. Why are people joining you? Why are people going to join? Why are people going to stay? Why is somebody going to stay after they figure out how to trade real estate themselves when they could go out and do it, better themselves after the fact? You need to provide a support network that continues to be viable for them as they start to make more money. So if you're thinking about starting a team and you're on this call, I want to go through a few things. Do not start a team until you have met this criteria. First of all, I mentioned this before, you already have administrative support that runs autonomously and systematically, and there's capacity there for increased business. Very important, because if you start to add scale without systems, your team will collapse. The agent you hire will be disappointed that they're not getting what they thought they were getting in terms of the support. And you will end up as a team leader being the person who's processing paperwork or running around like a chicken with their head cut off. You need the back-end administrative support, and they need to have capacity to support an increase in business. Very important. Don't hire these roles at the same time. So figure out your administrative support. Get your feet under you with that, get good systems up and running, have a clear idea of what they do, and then start to add team agents. Once you build the structure, you can easily add agents to it. Very challenging if you don't have the foundation, the good administrative foundation, you can't add agents in a systematic and effective way. Don't start a team until you have a clear understanding of your profit and loss statement and an understanding how that will change with adding each agent, including your onboard and carrying costs for each agent. So for me, I know my carrying cost per agent is $10,000 a year per agent. So I sit down when they come and join the team, and we shake hands, and I say, I'm about to make an investment in your business, which costs me out of pocket, literally, like me writing a check, of about $10,000 to have them join the team. I am investing in their business, in their training, in their databases, in order to make sure that they're successful. And if you're not prepared to make an investment in time, energy, money, and commitment to the person that you are hiring, you are not ready to start a team. Also, very important, and this is an aha I had with Sean Graham before this call, you need to understand where your business comes from and how growth can be amplified and replicated. We have team leaders on this team who know exactly where their business comes from. Laura Inward knows exactly where her leads are coming from. Barb Best knows exactly where these leads are coming from. If Barb Best wanted to scale a team and make it bigger, she's a geographic farm agent. She would say, okay, I'm going to hire another agent. We're going to expand our farm area by these 9 streets. She knows exactly where the growth is going to come from. She knows exactly where her transactions come from already. And if you were just a chaos agent, you're just like running around and like, one's a referral and one's a cold call and one's an internet lead. You are not ready to bring another agent on to learn under you if you don't have a business model that is replicatable at this time. The other thing I will say is that you, as a team leader, you need to have a very strong desire for leadership and mentoring. I spend more of my week talking to the agents on my team, helping them with their businesses and helping them get their transactions brought together than I do working on my own business. And I do that voluntarily because I am incredibly passionate about it and I love doing it. In fact, I would venture to say that I've lost passion for selling real estate and I only now have passion for leading my team. And so to the point where literally my team leader, Shauna Farr, had to tell me to stop coming to Wednesday meetings because I was hijacking the training. And I would be like, be like, oh, I just another thing. Like, I'm going to be the little old 95-year-old who's sitting in the back of the office who's like, and another thing. That's going to be me, guys. I love doing it. And if you don't, do not become a team leader. Maybe hire an administrator or a licensed assistant, but do not try and start a team of team agents unless you are ready to inspire, motivate, and empower the people that choose to work with you. And on that point, you have to be prepared to embark on a process of learning, coaching, and personal growth. This sounds so granola, guys, but it is true. You're going to have to learn what it is to not be you may be a great real estate agent and an incredibly shitty team leader. And that's the reality. And I see it happen all the time. You're great at selling real estate doesn't mean that you're going to be a good team leader because you have to have a passion for helping and serving the agents that work under you. You need to clearly define what role you are for and make sure that the person that you're hiring also understands it as well. What's the expectation from both sides? Because otherwise you're going to have a calamity on your hands. Again, be prepared to invest a substantial time of money and time into training and running your team. It takes up the lion's share of my week to run a team of 28 people. And you need to have a system in place for like when your listing coordinator gets COVID and she can't be at the office for 5 days in a row, like you will spend a lot of time managing the people on your team. So do not proceed, do not pass go, do collect $200 until you are ready to actually lean into running a business, not just selling real estate anymore. And in this market, I think this is a really important one. Before you're going to hire someone, you need to be sure that you're in a position to be able to carry expenses in a lean year or wait for a return on investment. What I mean by that is that, I make $3 million a year, but the reality is that in the last 6 months, We have had years where as a team, we have had months where as a team, we are not profitable. And that's a big, scary statement for a lot of team leaders to be able to come to terms with, but it is happening all over our industry. And this is why we see the collapse of mega teams happening right now. It's because many of those team leaders did not have a war chest put aside for the good years that we've recently had to be able to pay for all of their expenses and their staff and their supports when the years were lean. And so I don't lose sleep at night worrying about it because I've got money to pay my staff, even if it's not a single house for the rest of the year. I have enough money to keep the lights on and the circus rolling at least until this time next year, which is a big, it's a big statement. So if you do not have a good financial footing yourself, my goodness, if you're on the Titanic, don't freaking board passengers along with you guys, for the love of God. You also need to be prepared to invest in people's businesses, and it's not going to be immediate. So, you know, I have agents that come to the team and it may be 5 or 6 or 7 months before they start turning out deals. And then when they do, holy moly, do they? But you need to, their businesses need to be able to reach a gel point, especially if you're working by referral model like I am. You need to have a clear organizational chart, who does what, who goes where for what services. And you need to understand whose role does what and how they're clearly defined. You need to be able to define your culture and values as a team. And you need to understand your value proposition and why talent would want to join you. So you need to be able to clearly articulate why a producer would come along and want to join a team like yours. And you can practice on other team agents. I'm happy if you want to call me and talk to me about your value proposition. Absolutely, I'm happy to chat with you about that. But for the love of God, guys, better come at me with more than just, I have this dumpster full of internet leads to offer to somebody, and I'm going to make them call through, and then I'm going to cash those commission checks, guys. I'm going to shoot holes in that value proposition like Swiss cheese. So you need to have a value proposition. Alessia is like, oh my God, this is Carol 2.0. This, I love it. Crazy analogies. Okay, I wanted to super quickly. Oh, hold on a second. Oh, hold on, see, look, thank you. No, I just want to talk super quickly about signing a contract. To be sure, guys, before you sign a contract, whether you are a team agent or a team leader, your contract should be drafted by a lawyer. As again, in Ontario, you can put whatever you want in a contract unless it's legally enforceable. It's not legally enforceable. So it should be drafted by a lawyer. As a team leader, if you're not prepared to invest a couple $1,000s in having a lawyer draft your team contract, you're not ready to start a team. So be prepared that that's going to be probably your first expense, and it should be drafted by a lawyer. It should detail all of the points that we previously discussed, where you're working, how much you're working, what the expectation is, how you're being compensated. My team contract is something like 17 pages long, and it is detailed. It talks about every scenario, every possibility, so that if one of those scenarios eventually comes up, it's there in the contract, and there's no like surprise. I had no idea that that's how the commission was going to be split. We're talking about a contract that is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars in perpetuity. You need to treat it with respect. The sad one pagers that I see for team contracts floating around our industry, they're not legally enforceable, guys, and you'll end up with a lot of disappointment. The more clarity, the better on that. Just like an agreement of purchase and sale, when in doubt, write it out. So put that in your team contract. Should be fair and reasonable. You will get new agents, team leaders will get new agents who are willing to sign anything and sign their life away, but that will only fly for so long until they understand what the nature it is that they sign, and then they will go elsewhere. So very important that it should be fair and reasonable for both parties. Even if sometimes you're in a position to be able to get the upper hand, it's always been my approach to be like, be as fair and reasonable as you can right out of the gate. Even when you don't need to be. Like, I have people who are like, I'll give you 80% of my commission just to be able to join your team, Carol, and like learn from you and have access to these resources. I would never sign that contract because it's not long-term sustainable for either of us. Clear expectations on the efforts and outcomes. So what the expectation is of how much they're going to work, what they're going to do to work in their business. And then again, clear definition of details on details about ownership, leads, past clients, agents, database, preclusions in the agreement, preclusion on future workplaces. Most people don't realize it. Often when you sign a team contract, or perhaps often in the past, I don't know if this is happening a lot anymore, if you left that team, you could be precluded from staying at your brokerage. You could be precluded from working in your geographic area. So you could join, the John Smith team here at KW. We don't have an agent in John Smith, do we? Okay, great. John Smith hires you to work at KW, and he says if this team contract doesn't work out, you are not allowed to join another brokerage or another team that works in EO2. And that may be catastrophic for you. And Alessia's like, what? That's crazy. That's in many team contracts. There are agents, Sean's nodding, because probably you and I both signed one that had something like that. You can't stay with the brokerage, you can't contact. Amanda Witten, who left another team to join ours. She had a preclusion that she could not contact any past client. She had one past client and it was her cousin. She was precluded from ever calling that person again. That's the wackiness of these contracts. And so you need to understand the good and the bad with it. Carlos has come in to tell me to stop talking now. That is the end of my presentation. I know that you have some questions. I'm happy to answer them for you at this time. I feel like I've just vomited up a whole bunch of information on everybody.
Hey, Carol, I don't have any questions. I do have to jump off, but I wanted to take a second just to thank you so much for taking the time to do this today. Hugely informative, even for somebody who is running a team not as big as yours, would love to make it as big as yours. So appreciate you sharing the insights and pulling back the curtain to your business. Really, truly, you are a icon in this business, and look forward to seeing all the amazing things you continue to do. So thank you so much for sharing.
Because Laura, you're one of the few people that I can call and have like a serious heart to heart with, because you run a business the same size as mine. And I thought about you today when we talked to this Women's History Month this month, which I didn't know until Facebook told me this morning. And when we think about female legends in our business who are alive and willing, living and thriving right now, Gloria Edward is in fact a legend. And so if you pass her in the hallway here at the brokerage, take a moment to say hello and acknowledge her, because she has blazed a trail for many years for the many women that are in our industry now and have that will come behind us. So thank you, Laura.
That's really kind, but thank you for today. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Questions, guys? Anybody else? Oh, questions in the chat. I don't know. Hold on, let's have a look.
Right finger swipe.
Oh, right finger swipe. Sorry. We need team. Hi, everybody. No, thank you, Carol. No questions. See?
Oh, no.
It was my sister-in-law. Oh, whose comment was that?
Amanda.
Oh, Amanda. Oh, it was your sister-in-law. Thanks, Amanda. Thanks for not being here, Amanda. I will just say, guys, Amanda, a great example of that. Fired off of 2 teams. Mark Richards fired her in a week and said, I don't know what she said. Amanda, maybe you can unmute and share what that firing looked like. But nothing gives me greater joy than every time Amanda Witten does a deal with the Mark Richards group, calling the Mark Richards group and thanking them for firing her, because in her first year in real estate on my team, she sold $45 million in her first year. So Mark Richards thought she was a terrible admin and fired her. The team she went to after that, she was a licensed admin. Let's be honest, Amanda, you sucked at it. And then you came here, and with the right role, you were hired as a team agent, and you absolutely killed it. You killed it every day.
Thanks, Carol. I'm just in my car because I'm just coming back from Brampton, but so honored, guys. Like, thank you.
I think I saw two people.
Oh, are there question? Hands up? I don't know. No, nobody has a hand. I don't think so.
Sorry,
Nope.
hello, hi.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
Miss
go ahead.
I was just asking, what is your social media?
What?
Do you have Instagram? I would like to follow
Social
you.
media. Oh, it's Carol Foderick. It's my name. But don't reach out to her on that. Don't try to reach out to her. It's not me. It's one of my admins that does my social media. So I
Okay.
for like 4 months, and I just had no interest in logging back in. So one of the benefits of having an administrator that does all of your social media for you is that I don't integrate. If you have a question for me, you're welcome to reach out and call me or visit my office.
Okay,
I'll be
thank you.
running into the trainings, trying to be run by other people. Any other questions that I can answer while we're here?
Hey, Carol. Thank you so much for a fantastic presentation. I just had a quick question about, the mindset difference between a team agent and a buyer's agent. I'm in the process of, either joining a team or joining a different brokerage from where I'm at right now. And that's sort of, just wanted to learn more about that.
Okay, let's talk about mindset. The single most, one of the most important things that you can bring to your business is the mindset approach that you have. A salesperson will take a churn and burn approach. So, and to be clear, in our industry, there is a lot of people who are very successful at just find a client, sell a client to house, never speak to that client again, literally, and it's just and rinse and repeat over and over and over again. A business owner's mindset will look at establishing a client relationship as an opportunity to not do one transaction with them, but do multiple transactions with them over the course of their lifetime, plus all of the people that they know as well. And you are able to build that relationship by showing up in service to them both before the transaction happens and then after the transaction closes, so that you remain top of mind. So that is a business owner's mindset towards their approach to business. When it comes to how it applies to a team, a salesperson mindset will say, what leads am I getting from this team? What's in it for me? What am I getting out of this? What is a team leader giving me to be here? A business owner's mindset, as an approach to joining a team, will say, how do I grow my own business under the services and supports that are provided by this team? And sometimes it's tangible, like here's some pop buys, here's client appreciation event tickets, here is somebody doing your social media for you, here is the administrative support. And sometimes it's educational. So sometimes it's like, what am I going to learn from, one of the most successful agents in the country? What am I going to learn from the other agents who are walking this path alongside of me? So it is the difference between being a business owner and a salesperson, and that is profound. When you are a salesperson, your life will always be hard. That's the reality. It's just find the next agent, find the next buyer, find the next seller, churn and burn through that, spend the money, start all over again with another client. A business owner will look at building a business, right? It's the difference between the coffee shop who opens a coffee shop. He's not hoping that, the person comes in once and buys a coffee and that like 300,000 people that year do the same thing. They're hoping that one client has such a positive client experience that they come back and buy a coffee every single day. And maybe that's an over exaggeration to use it as a real estate analogy, but the principle was fundamentally the same. So the business owner, does that help answer the question?
Yeah, no, that was fantastic. Really thank you for that. And that's primarily the challenge I'm having, right? Because what I've known so far, joining a team effectively means that, prior to this conversation today, was that, the team leader maintains that business relationship, right? You come in, you service those clients as I guess in this case, a buyer's agent, right? Using your terms, and that relationship always stays with that team leader, right? So if you were to leave at some point, if that were to be the case for, lack of good fit or whatever, you're walking away with no assets, as in you don't have a database except your own, your own network. That is still the case, right? Even for team agents, like that's not any different at your team, or is it different?
No, everybody on my team owns their own database. I have nothing to do with their databases. All of the growth and the people that get added to the database, that is 100% those clients that they've done. So Matt, do you want to explain that, Matt? Because you are a team agent on the team. So
yeah, sure.
Can you get everyone here, Matt? Is the speaker good? Yeah. Matt's your name. I'm gonna highlight Matt because Matt's gonna get all of that. Two of my new 2022 agents here on the team, both of them licensed this year. And I just want to highlight both of them because Matt started in an unlicensed role in the team for me. Matt called me and he's like, I'm in getting my real estate license. It was actually referred by Dave Patterson, who I think I saw him. Oh, Dave's live here. And Dave's like, yeah, go talk to Carol, see what the team's all about. And Matt, at that time, I wasn't hiring any agents, and I was like, I don't know, whatever, come talk to me about real estate when you get your real estate license. He's like, really? Because I'd love to just learn anything. Like, you've got any unlicensed jobs that I can do, I would be happy to do it. And I was like, Matt, how do you feel about moving couches? And Matt came and joined my staging team as a staging assistant for 3 or 4 months while he was finishing his real estate license. And Matt got licensed in August and has closed 18 deals since August. Which is like that, but brand new to the business. And Matt's database, I've never looked at it. So Matt, you want to speak to that? Because I don't have any interest in your database.
Yeah, it's really the crux of it. Like Carol has taught me how to nurture my database, how to expand it, and has given me opportunities to do so, but she's never called anyone in my database and never will, unless they just so happen to be like mutual, but even then that has not happened yet. So yeah, like I'm in the unlikely event that I were to leave the team, which I don't foresee happening, thanks to you, I would obviously maintain that ownership of it, and like, because she would just, it would, and it's really natural, it's a natural fit, because, you know, like my entire database, when I first sat down with Carol, was like, build, like, put everyone you know into a list, and that's gonna be where you start your business from. And it would be very strange if Carol were to just cold call those people, because that's in effect what it would be.
They don't know me and I don't know them, and there would be zero relationship, there'd be no benefit to me as a team leader in owning that. But to be clear, to the person who asked the question, it sounds like perhaps you came from a lead gen team where there was leads being handed to you, and so the expectation is that they are going to own ownership of that team. So that would be reasonable. If I were to give that, you know, buyer clients to work with, yes, I would still own those, but that's not where mass business comes. Mass business comes from being able to generate leads from his own database, because we are working by referral teams, so it's a different business model than likely the team that you came off of. And then because Alessia is sitting next to him, Alessia gets mad shout outs because every month she is the rookie of the month here at the brokerage. I feel like in the presence of a celebrity. And Alessia also joined my team in a non-licensed capacity, and I got licensed in January of this year and has had a phenomenal first start to a year. Alessia is our East Toronto leasing coordinator as well on the team, and has done a phenomenal job. But again, Alessia has a massive database. I don't have any interaction with them, and I don't know them, and that's Alessia's database. If she ever chooses to leave, that's her database to take with her. Does that answer your question about databases?
Yeah, it definitely does. I think I missed this part, just specifically about at your team how the splits works with when it comes to your, you know, farming your own database and building that out.
Team agents, it depends on whether it's a lease or a lease or a buy or a sell. The lease splits on our team are 75 to the team agent, 25% to me. That's a loss leader for me, to be clear. I don't make any money. The services that I provide on the lease transactions, I'm losing money on a 25% split, but again, it keeps the agents engaged. And then 60-40, so if Matt sells something from his own database, he keeps 60% of that. And then listings, it is an 80-20 split with me taking 20%. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, perfect. And just to clarify as well, like the entire focus of you know, team agents business is on their own database. Since they're not having leads handed over to them, they're actually farming out their own database, and they're working off of those splits that you mentioned, right? So they're not really I guess from an advertising standpoint is another point, which is like, are they advertising themselves and the team's name, or is it just the team's name and none of themselves? Like when it comes to their own database, like how does that work as well? Sorry for all these questions.
Questions, because again, the team agent is something that I don't know how commonplace it is in our marketplace. Like there is, I don't know, Sean's like looking, he's like, oh, I don't know.
No, I know of it, like hardly anybody ever does.
Hardly anybody ever does,
great
yeah, so
clarification.
it's like, yeah, it's, so the challenge is that it will depend on where the leads come from and the team that you're looking at. So we are working by referral team, so we don't advertise. We will not see my face or Matt's face or Alessia's face or anyone of the other 16 agents, you know, faces on a bus or anything. That's not where our business comes from. So our businesses are built on relationships with people that we know, or relationships with people that we meet, and turning them into advocates and repeat clients. So it's a different business model. So no, there's no advertising that goes out from our team. I would say that's, yeah, we don't do any advertising. Social media, and that's one of the reasons why agents join the team, because if you were to follow Alessia Scabuso, hashtag Alessia Scabuso, I don't know. On social media, it would look like Alessia Scabuso was selling 238, you know, properties a year, because it is marketed in a way that it appears that Alessia's name appears on everything, because again, the intention is to nurture people that she knows through her database and her process. But this business model that I'm describing is specific to a working by referral team, not a cold calling team or a door knocking team, or whatever falls out of the sky on any particular day team, which is the vast majority of teams out there, which may be part of the confusion that you're dealing with in your team. Does that answer your question?
That does, and thank you so much for that. And just one follow up to that. I don't know if anyone else has got questions, you know, feel free to tell me to shut up. But let's say there's a listing and, you know, a team agent needs to put up a for sale sign. What does that for sale sign look like?
Oh, it's the Carol Foderick Real Estate Group sign, and then it has the name of the agent. Like, to be clear, I have no interest in, and I don't even take interest in the leads that come from my own listings. I want to be very clear by that. Like, the way that our team structure works is that I'm obviously my own database turns out about, $1.5 million in GCI a year. When leads come in from that through sign calls, they get delegated to an agent on my team based on their own, without going too far down the rabbit hole, the way that we do our lead delegation for listings on our team, I don't even have interest in calling a sign call for my own listing, let alone yours or Matt's. That's Matt's business to have. That's not the nature of the way that I generate leads. But it sounds like you've had a pretty rocky ride at wherever you're at now, sir. So hats off to you that you've survived. So yeah. But again, anyways, yeah, that's another discussion. Do we have a follow-up answer to that, Matt, since
I guess it
we're
was.
co-hosting this? I just looked at you during the entire thing.
Well, it just seems like his question is about branding, and so to be clear, we are branded under the Carol Foderick Real Estate Group because we are part of that.
Yes, correct.
But for every listing that we have, it's like Carol said, it's our names are on it. We're the people that are fielding the sign calls and everything about that. We're on the listing, like on the MLS, it goes to us. Like we we maintain our ownership of that, whether if it's our listing.
Yeah, correct. Does that answer your question? Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you guys so much.
Awesome. Anybody else have a question? Oh, David has a pattern. He's just giving, Dave Patterson just giving you a shout out. Okay, anybody else? Sorry.
I have a question.
Oh, please, yeah, who am I talking to?
My name's Billy. Yes, I'm in silhouette right now. Well, fully black and white silhouette. Okay, question is, does it
Their cameras on, it's silhouette? Okay, guys.
Does a established agent with their own website, if they go to a team, for example, yours, does that agent retain their own independent site, or does it get folded in, or just basically do you just not renew your own personal website when you're on a team? And how do testimonials work?
Testimonials, so a little bit of both. We have some agents that have testimonials that get left directly for the agent, or they mention it in the Google forms that it was a specific agent. Quite honestly, we get a huge amount of testimonials as our back end staff. And if you read our Google reviews, it's like, Anissa was amazing. Allison was the listing coordinator, the closing coordinator, the stager. Like, it's not all agent centric because there's such a team approach to servicing our clients. And then agents joining the team with their own website. Yeah, we've never really had that issue. Again, it doesn't speak to, I will go months and months this time without even looking at my own website. Like, we have somebody that handles that. So like internet marketing factors zero into our business model, the way that we generate our millions of dollars of GCI a year. It's relationships, it's one-on-one, it's face-to-face, it's voice-to-voice. So be a great question to explore. But yeah, I've never had anybody come with their own website that they were concerned about folding into a larger one.
Right. I'm just more curious, like if we have an independent site now, we would put your branding at the bottom of our site in theory with Keller Williams, right? Like,
that would be a question of, yeah, no, that would be something I think to be negotiated with the team agent that you're contemplating. But again, depending on your business model, that may be a big factor to consider, because if you have a business model that you're working under that is heavily dependent on website traffic, that may be something that you really need to be concerned about. But I would say the working by referral model, it's like how many people, I don't know, Matt or Alessia, how many people, or Amanda, if you're still on the call, how many people are interacting with our website? Zero. Like that's
right.
And the time and the energy that you put into updating the website, you could be calling your clients and getting a listing.
Thank you.
She's bossy. That's why she was the rookie of the year last year. Amanda wouldn't hire herself onto my team. I didn't even offer her. She's like, I'm joining. I'm so inspired. She went back and told our best, who's her sponsor at KW. Amanda,
can I just chime in? Just like super quickly, you don't have to. It was the question earlier.
Yeah, please.
That I think, I'm not sure because I'm driving, guys, I'm so sorry. Asked about the team splits and like running your own business. Carol was like one of the only people who spoke to was like, I'm going to show you how you build your own. I want nothing to do with it. So if you're interviewing with teams, That's a really good question to ask about what do you want what are you most excited about for me, essentially? And showing you how to do it, not what they're going to get from you. Does that explain it? Like, better?
Yeah, no, 100%. Thank you for that, Amanda. I totally get what you're saying, and yeah, that's amazing. You're right. It's hard to find.
Very, very. And I mean, I run my own business is good. And I work a lot with Carol's clients, but she's the one who taught me everything. So find someone who wants you to be successful as much as you want to be successful.
Amanda, can you just, if you're comfortable, it's gonna be totally up to you. If you want to say no, that's fine. You want to share your GCI in your first year of business? Because I think this is somebody, guys, Amanda Wynn was fired from the Richards Group, worked on a team where she sold one house and was a licensed admin. And then was hired for the right role in the right fit in the right team, and her business exploded. Do you want to share that, Amanda? Because you set a brokerage record. I think it's important, which I think is public knowledge now. So
I don't remember them because I'm so not number focused. I'm just so good at servicing clients. Does anyone else know this?
I think your first year in real estate was over 600,000 in GCI.
Oh yeah, it is. It is. And a lot and guys, just so you know, my own personal business out of that was over 300 of my own, not like sign calls, not open house leads, just my own sphere of influence, because of the tools that Carol helped me with. So about 50-50, I would say, almost.
Yeah.
And this year it's doubled if I go back 2022.
Got it. Billy, do you have any other questions, or do you have a follow-up question?
No, I think that was it. It was well answered. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks. Anybody else before we wrap up? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Quick question about, just the mentorship aspect. I know on the team side, it seems like, you're a big mentor and you really put value front, but do you offer coaching programs to, maybe realtors are not on your team, or, just maybe a realtor that's not in the same city as you?
Keller Williams offers incredible coaching programs, so I'd encourage you to look at that. I mean, the explosive growth that I've realized on my team and the structures are direct result of the inputs that Keller Williams brings to my business as well, not just here at the brokerage level, but Keller Williams as a company. We just, and people just got back from family reunion. Was it family reunion? Or yeah, where I mean it's like 30,000 real estate agents masterminding together, and there's a reason why we are the biggest and most successful real estate company in the world. It's because we are a company that fosters the growth of mega teams, and I'm just one of many, right? So no, do I personally? No, I don't. Everybody gets this has to sign up to be on the team. But I am also, I will give fair due, I'm also coached heavily by the Fenian Company out of California, and that is the Brian Beat model is the model that we follow as an approach to business.
Perfect. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Any other questions? No. Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for coming electronically and in person. All right. Thanks everybody. Have a great day.